I'll tell you the news.
Well, you start us off then. Don't leave us in anticipation. Come on, hurry up. We're on time here.
It's all so tiresome. That's the news. There we are. We're done.
Okay, all right.
Moving on to the next segment. No, I have some things to say about why it's so tiresome, and I'm sure you will probably agree with some of it at least. So we'll start off by promoting something else, which is Active Measures on lotuses.com, the book club we did. And the main theme of this book club was that the state will lie to you quite a lot, it turns out. Sometimes actually just for fun, which is the CIA's approach to it, which a whole other conversation. So go and check that out. But back to, well, our lives now, where the state totally doesn't lie to us. It's a bit hot outside. You noticed?
Not in the past few weeks, I haven't.
No, not
Summer,
here.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It's got a bit breezy and it's been raining.
Well, it's been raining every day in this part of the world. So it's sort of
climate change at work.
I don't know. I'm kind of very glad I get Schadenfreude from looking at the rest of the world burn. It's not just me, right?
No, to be fair, there is a part of me that's glad that it's a bit cooler outside, because in the office, when we first moved into this office, when it was warm, Jesus Christ, I couldn't stand it in there. I already can't stand it with all of you lot. But
fair point. Anyway, and then this studio was even worse.
It made it worse.
But anyway, we can see here, this is the news, as you see. If you live in foreign land, you might have noticed it's a bit hot. And
if you've noticed you're on fire, this is the news for you.
Look to your right, look to your left. Oh, that's probably why. Anyway, but so there's a heat wave. It's in a few parts of the world because temperature and weather and blah. I don't know anything about climate change. I don't care. I find the subject completely boring, and I don't engage with it because of that reason. But I do really hate people who won't leave me alone. And there's a certain type of people who won't ever leave any of us alone, which is, look, the climate's changing, so give me all the power and all of your money, people.
Oh, those are my favorite types.
Yeah.
I mean, they more than anything are, for me, the greatest argument against caring about climate change, because if your answer to everything is, the world is burning, quick, give all of your power to me, I think,
okay,
is there something going on here? Am I being scammed?
Well, they might be, in my opinion, communists. So let's go and check out some local communists who had a response to this. You go to the next link, we can see that. Sorry, I wasn't using the box. But there we are. You can see Good Morning Britain here, talking about the fact that, look, it's hot. Therefore, just stop oil. Eh?
But how do we tell that it's hot, Callum?
Well,
if you notice the map behind them.
Yeah, there we are.
They put
red.
Death Valley as well, straight in the middle.
Yeah, well, people who don't know, Death Valley is, I believe, the hottest place in the United States.
It's a desert.
Turns out desert hot. More breaking news coming live.
Wait until they put a camera there at night and find out at night, desert cold.
Anyway, but there's some responses. You can see here this communist went with, yesterday parts of the United States South experienced wet bulb temperatures of 94 Fahrenheit or 34 C. At these temperatures, no amount of shade or hydration can save you. Without AC, you die. And this is just the beginning.
I've been in that kind of weather before without AC, and it's I think I'm still alive.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Do I look alive to you?
Pretty alive, yeah.
Yeah, just about.
I'd say so.
About, okay.
Don the Pleb says, of course, veteran and military Twitter. You're all dead, all of you. So thank you for your service, but you all died. Anyway, moving on.
I mean, you can go to parts of Europe right now that will be far hotter than that.
And you will die.
Yeah, I suppose so. What happens is there's a threshold where the heat begins and ends, and you step through that threshold and you are a skeleton.
You can see local millionaire here, who steals the money from taxpayer via the BBC. That's a whole conversation. He says, yeah, it's a bit hot, but it's summer. Let's keep drilling for new oil. Who cares about the kids and the kids' future anyway? So no, I'm sorry. Like, there's a hot summer. So destroy all of civilization is not an argument. I don't know about you.
You're looking at countries that are on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea.
I always thought they were snowy.
Well, maybe. I hear it's pretty hot up in Norway most of the year. So perhaps the poles have flipped.
I have a map to prove it later on that it's totally hot up there because we painted it red.
It's 10 degrees in Norway right now, bright red.
Well, I'm not joking either. As you can see, Voltaire's Ghost here making that point. Where he's like, did you notice that they made the hot regions purple so they can make the coldest regions red so they look on fire? And you can see there, San Francisco, people listening, is listed as 62 degrees Fahrenheit.
How much is that in Celsius for those of us who exist outside of America?
Sure under 20 degrees Celsius.
That sounds nice and breezy.
Well, that's on fire according to this map because I have got my red crayon. So
makes sense to me.
I've lost the blue crayon and the green crayon, so I've given up, said local weatherman. This is real as well. You can see ban the BBC here, of course, showing how come 20 degrees is listed as orange to red. I mean,
So obvious, isn't it? It's so obvious, the scaremongering.
how come the only green temperature is 9 degrees Celsius? I mean, unless you are living in a fridge, you are too hot, according to...
So, yeah, if you're at 10 degrees, which is pretty normal temperature over these parts for, let's say,
Cold.
70% of the year.
But that's I don't think it is.
Apparently that's starting to heat up to boiling point, according to this map.
Like, I'm pretty sure the UK is usually around about 13 or something instead, but no, you're going to be at 9.
It's somewhere between, say, 10 and 15 degrees Celsius over here for most of the year.
There's the grim north in there. I always forget.
It's not that cold up there. It's not like it's Scotland.
I don't know. I watched Game of Thrones, and they told me the north was cold. So
that wasn't actually England.
You can see here.
I'm so sorry to break this to you.
Summer means death for everyone, because a particularly hot summer is no longer a hot summer. It is the climate. Whereas a particularly cold winter is not a cold winter. It is also... Oh, no, it's the opposite, isn't it? You ever notice that? You know when some retarded Republican turns up and says, I have a snowball. See? No climate change. I mean, it is the same argument. It's like, look, hot, therefore climate change. Snowball, therefore not climate change.
Well, they haven't even worked out. We're supposed to be either engulfing in a fiery blaze of magma or freezing to death or drowning in water. I don't think they've figured out which one is the correct
one. It's all
one.
three. From what I'm aware, from what I remember being taught in secondary school, what it is the temperature will heat up and heat up and heat up until then that causes all of the ice in Antarctica to melt, at which point we'll be flooded, at which point we'll all become very cold as well, and it'll start a new ice age. I think that's the chain of logic that people are going by now.
Well, we were meant to die, I think, at the last month, according to Greta. So,
last month?
Yeah, do you remember Greta Day, where she had tweeted out
Oh, yeah.
5 years ago that we'd all be dead?
Day. Yeah.
And then we all died.
Yeah.
Glad to be back. Anyway, we'll check out some previous weather reports.
Yeah, blatantly obvious. Look at that.
For people listening, we're looking at a weather report from Germany, 2022. Everything has been coloured in red. Except in 2017, when the temperatures were higher, of course, it was portrayed as sunshine, which I personally find a little more convincing. That when I go outside, it describes
leafy greens all over Europe at that time.
I love again. You can
same with English maps in the UK. I remember back in the day, this sort of weather would... Yep, there you go.
That is literally from memory lane, isn't it?
That's my childhood right there.
Yeah.
There might be sun. Whereas now, the map, as correctly pointed out by Dan, is this. Which, I don't know about you, I feel like that reduces the amount of information I have about the weather outside, personally.
That seems pretty clear to me. Go outside, die.
Just you will die, so stay in. I mean, some people have made a very good meme out of all this, which is the newest propaganda that presumably will be put up on every bus stop in the country. Will be this. Look into his eyes and tell him that climate change isn't real. Barry, 55, climate change victim here. Stay home, apply factor 50, hide from the sun.
This was after only 5 seconds of direct sun exposure. This man is definitely from the north.
2 days in Benidorm.
A local firework went off in the night. Anyway, but this isn't that new either. This person has been pointing out that there might be a theory behind this, which is that it's all propaganda. Now, I don't know how he got such a disgusting worldview as to say that Sky News might not be the most honest of outlets and have been colouring in their maps with red crayons for fun. He says he got it from the Sky News website. Which we all know is fake news, to be honest.
Yeah.
So you can see here, this is Sky News' own website saying, behaviour change on climate can be driven by TV, says Sky.
It's like the Spider-Man meme when they're like pointing at each other.
I'm not telling lies. I just said I would tell lies. Okay.
You saw the video, I think, when James O'Keefe was part of Project Veritas, when he spoke to, is it CNN? They went undercover and spoke to the CNN correspondent, and they said, yeah, the next thing is climate change.
Climate lockdowns.
Yeah.
Was the hope.
Yeah. And now we see it.
I mean,
there we have it.
These people, I mean, if you go into any class where they'll teach the sort of people who do these things, you're not taught that, it's time to report factual news. What you're taught is it's time to manipulate public opinion. That's the only thing these people care about. And look, principal partner of UN Climate Change Conference UK 2021.
Of course.
The media literally work with the people with the power. No, that's not a big conspiracy to me. I think that's pretty standard. So, I mean, let's read their total not happening news that they wrote on their own website. Behavioral change on climate science can be driven by the TV. Sky calls for new era collaboration amongst broadcasters. So, okay. I mean, they're going to start a conspiracy amongst the broadcasters to help consumers to decarbonize their lifestyles through on-air content. Now, that is, well, advertising speak for propagandize the public into not using carbon.
Now, we're looking at the conspiracy chart in a little bit, but I just want to ask, has reading the exact things that they're telling us that they're doing been classified as anti-Semitic yet?
Most likely.
Probably
not.
Probably.
So, a report shows that TV have power to encourage consumers to decarbonize, with 1 in 3 of the British public saying they have changed their lifestyle because of what they saw on the telly. Now, 1 in 3 of the British public also has an IQ below 85. 70 makes you clinically retarded. I'll be honest, I don't think this was actually the own they thought it was. It's like, we can convince the stupidest part of the country to do what we say because we're the telly.
Yeah.
I can't help but think as well, since about 1997, that end of the bell curve has gradually been shifting things somewhat.
How could you say such a thing?
I know.
Hate speech.
Terrible. I'm on the ADL's list now, I'm sure.
But speaking of, I mean, maybe you think the Sky News...
SDLC is after me.
Maybe you think Sky News put this on their website as misdirection to feed climate deniers to then...
It's insane.
I don't know.
I mean, we know that the government have like their own sort of behavioural task force or like section. And obviously with Ofcom, you can't even question things such as global warming if you're a mainstream broadcaster, otherwise you're outed. So it's funny watching them just admit it and then just post it and then see what happens.
Speaking of behavioural teams that might be working with the government, here's the Behavioural Insights team, which is created by the government, writing here about how they're working with Sky News to influence...
So literally what I just... Yeah.
I mean, have you ever been proven right that fast?
No.
So this is on page 59 of the document in the notes if you want to go and give it a read. They say all knowledge gaps Sky content could help address. Likewise, content may increase the perceived normality of actions like flying less, switching to electric vehicles, or volunteering with local environmental groups. Now, of course, Sky News won't be flying less, and you could argue this, as written there, is coming from a place trying to help the world, but of course, it's not really, because as I mentioned, they won't be flying less. They have a graph here for people listening showing high impact, low impact, and moderate impact things.
Eat
the
less
public,
meat and dairy.
Yeah, the public could be convinced to do. So literally, don't go on holiday, stop eating meat, and get an electric car are the top ones there. No one at Sky will be doing that because they know that they're above it.
So they're not doing the eat less meat and dairy, according to this, because they know that people won't do that.
I do love how they put signing petitions or contacting MPs as low impact. They don't actually have any power, according to the behavioural
insight team who work for the government say, well, local government's basically useless, isn't it?
Because we run the show.
Interesting, that.
Right. I mean, again, that doesn't really... You know, when people say, oh, it's a conspiracy theory that a bunch of civil servants actually run the country, except when they tell us that...
It's actually what's happening.
There we are. So there's that graph. Enjoy. But after you've now learned, specifically, we are speaking of Sky News in this instance, but as mentioned, it's all the broadcasters in their own words.
Yeah.
Specifically Sky News. This is what they say behind closed doors, which is how do we propagandize the public into believing that they need to stop going on holiday and only we should be allowed to go on holiday because carbon. Well, now let's take a look at their reporting. Now we all know that piece of information. And let's play this clip.
But yes, people travelling to these countries really need to think that this could be the future of European summers, that Europe is the fastest warming continent right now. We are going to see more intense heat waves, more frequent heat waves, more prolonged heat waves. And if you're going to experience those kind of temperatures, I think you won't be able to have the traditional beach holiday. You will want to be staying inside. And then it's very difficult. I think the tourism industry obviously will be slightly affected by this because it will put certain people off travelling.
There we have it.
Our entire message
I'm convinced.
Stop flying, plebs.
Yeah.
And to prove my point, here's an image of a woman wafting herself with a fan and a few men wearing no tops out in public. I've never seen this before the past 2 years.
Usually when you go on holiday, you would never have that. It would be...
No.
Who'd have thought it'd be hot during the summer?
One day we'll figure out.
Again, I've always, when I've been to Italy in the past, I've always made sure to pack the ice boots.
My point being, Sky News, they want to be a propaganda outlet. You know, it's a free market. They can do that. They can print.
At least they're honest.
I mean, yeah, they're printing lies already, so what would change?
Yeah.
But at least they could be honest and just tell people that. Instead, it literally is behind closed doors. We'll pledge that we need to convince the public to stop going on holiday. And then we won't tell them why we've coloured in the whole map red. But that is the reason, according to Sky News. Which can't be... Okay, whatever. Do I need to make any more on that? There's also their other reporting, which, if you don't believe me yet, maybe this will convince you. Climate change of the gaps.
Seen this.
A car went up in flames on a Los Angeles freeway as California is hit by a blistering heat wave. However, it is not clear if the incident was heat-related. So we're looking at a car that's on fire.
At 9?
Presumably, according to Sky News, climate change did this.
Yeah.
The climate fairies went in and set it on fire.
See the fire crews here? For some reason, the humans, who are a bit more flammable, I would have presumed, than the car that's idling, are not on fire. There's also other cars in the background which are not on fire. They presumably paid their carbon tax, so they're spared from the sun.
Okay, what's the implication supposed to be here? In all seriousness, is the implication supposed to be that, okay, if it's too hot outside, your car, presumably the petrol inside of it, will just combust?
Yes.
Spontaneously. Because if so, why doesn't that constantly happen in Africa?
It's because Sky News are run by propagandists and they're propagandizing you, as evidenced by Sky News' internal documents saying they were propagandists.
Now, Callum,
but it would never happen to an electric vehicle.
While you may say that, and while we've just looked at plenty of evidence to prove your point, I'm going to have to say my trusted news source say that you're an anti-Semitic far-right conspiracy theorist for implying such a thing.
Shame on you, man.
I make a synthesis. Anyway, moving on. Should we read some comments? Because they're funny.
All right, yeah, go on.
The comments on this post are good fun. I picked out the best, as I always do. No, it's just... Someone said here, I burned my cock on a towel rail this morning. I can assure you that accident was also heat-related. There we are. So the climate change has murdered a man's penis. So there's more news. Someone else said, you could have gone with something happened whilst outside. I think you'll investigate a little bit. You'll find that it was due to racism, not heat. Said another funny man.
Fiery but mostly peaceful heat wave.
Well, speaking of racism, the BBC are here to explain the bell curve.
Oh no, guys, we need to stop. Switch it off.
But only in this specific circumstance. If you dare to use this any other way, don't.
You know, this bell curve, the actual way that they're two separated, reminds me of another bell curve I've seen.
No, it doesn't.
In a very controversial book. But I won't continue that thought.
I love that. I mean, have you ever seen a BBC graph using a bell curve? Just sideline. I actually haven't until now.
Neither have I, no.
It's true.
I'm
I've
shocked.
never seen that.
I thought they'd been
of pie
banned
graphs
from the early 90s.
Plenty of bar graphs. No bell curves until this moment. So I look forward to more of them. Anyway, should we go back? Just something else. The government has acted, in case you're wondering, if you are going to die outside.
Nuclear fuel fund.
They've decided, as is good news, actually. They've awarded £22 million to nuclear projects, so we can actually have the lights on.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
All around the greater Manchester and Cheshire area.
3 days of hotel spending on the migrants.
Yep.
Wow.
You think what we could have done?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a perspective.
Yep.
Also, what you've got to consider as well with the sorts of labour shortages we're experiencing at the moment and the kinds of people that we're bringing in to fill those labour shortages instead of training up our own people, I don't trust that we're not going to get some Homer Simpson adjacent types in charge of the safety at these nuclear facilities.
Look, I'm just saying, there isn't a day go by where I don't walk down the high street and think there's not enough Turkish barbers. We just need more. And they can't get enough workers, so we'll just let more in.
And to be fair, I'm not throwing shade here, but you are styled somewhat like you just came out of a Turkish barber's.
Thank you very much. I was going for the Canadian look, but Turk,
yeah,
that's cool.
Canadian than Turkish.
Yeah.
They'd cut all this.
Oh, yeah, true.
And
I did get it done yesterday just for the live
fire
stream.
for no reason.
I haven't had the fire treatment.
It's actually really nice. You ever had the
Is it? No, never, no.
But you're funding the Turkish barbers?
Oh, I used to go to Boss Bar. We've spoken about this until I realised it was obviously a front for people trafficking. Because I thought they were not Turks.
No, it's just their cousins, bro.
Yeah, and then I go to a lovely Brazilian place, which is the only one. And as soon as he closes, it's people trafficking in all of Swindon. There's that. Anyway, getting back to other things that are tiresome. Don't know if you lads have seen this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Are you familiar with Nas Daily?
I've heard of them, yes.
You may remember he's the one who got questioned by a good friend, Avi, who turned up in Switzerland to ask, so why have you flown to a climate summit? And Nas didn't have an answer. He also wouldn't answer who paid for it because he's just a member of the elite. And he makes NPC content for NPCs. So let's have a look at this NPC content that a member of his staff has done because, of course, he doesn't bother anymore. Let's play it.
Oh, that's not the right video.
Accident. Sorry, I hit the
This
next
video
button.
is gonna make the comment section go crazy. He is brown, she is brown, and they are brown. This is the brownest city in all of Europe.
Oh, gosh.
Welcome to London! London has become the
was
most
token
diverse
white.
city in all of Europe.
I'm from Nigeria.
I'm from Ukraine.
I'm from Sudan.
It's not just
Ukraine,
people.
Ukraine,
The national
wait.
dish is Indian.
This is tikka masala.
The mayor of London has family from Pakistan. There are
is
nearly
Pakistan.
300 languages spoken.
Apa kabar? Balasani.
And in one street, more than 270 nationalities live. But why is London so diverse? In the last 500 years, London went to many countries. And 500 years later, the same countries are coming to London. Despite the history,
owned by
London is
various
now
brown
where people
people of
come
different
to build a
nationality.
new life. So, if you're brown like me, you have a new home in London. That's 1 minute. See you tomorrow.
If you're English,
Oh.
though, you have no home in London. Impressive.
He is brown.
Very nice. Now let's take a look at the crime stats.
Well, just some notes real quick, which is obviously that it didn't actually have anything to do with being brown, no matter how many often they said it, because they had a Ukrainian. But they also listed as a brown woman, which she wasn't.
Yeah.
It was literally just non-English.
I'm sorry, just
as
can we just find her again? Because I just want to check because that kind of passed over because I was just
It's
completely.
quite Ukraine, and there
Oh
was
wait!
There we go.
Ukraine.
Look at this brown woman from Ukraine. So brown is just a synonym for non-English.
I'm sorry. She's actually quite. Maybe it's just the lighting, but she's a little bit ambiguous here. I'm going to be honest.
That's average Ukrainian, to be honest.
Oh, fair play.
But
I
also,
expect most of them to be blonde.
I don't know if anyone heard us, but I did notice while we were watching it that when they mentioned all the different cuisines, it was all takeaway chicken shops.
That's what made London great. We built the English economy off of the back of Turkish chicken shops.
Read some comments.
yeah.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Oh
on.
yeah.
So the comments are actually quite funny because you notice on here, unlike usually when this happens, he has quite a large like ratio to dislikes,
That's impressive.
which is unusual until you realize that his audience are entirely NPCs from all over the world. So someone in here says, why is London so diverse? Just say colonization. Bro tried so hard not to say colonization because he said London went to a lot of countries and then a lot of countries came to London. But of course, if he admits we colonized the world, London is currently being colonized. Is the, I don't know, what's it called? Modus tollens? The lesson 101 you do if you do a logic module. It's just like if A, then P, well then if P, if A, whatever. I can't remember. Don't care. But point being, they say in here, of course, London is so diverse. They're all brown. Someone else also went with London is coincidentally the stabbing capital of Europe. So there's that.
Big shock.
But then a local man, Steve over here, decided to post said video
Oh.
on twitter.com. And for some reason, Nas Daily decided to comment, haha, glad you love the video. Oh, that's nice. That's, he appreciates.
Sweet.
Yeah.
It's good to see people coming together like this.
He then issued a copyright notice.
I text Steve about this actually.
How dare you, Steve, show people what I was showing people?
Oh,
Okay.
dear.
All he was doing was spreading the content far and wide so we could all celebrate the great diversity of London.
Well, no, he was passing fair comment on a video, which is completely legal under fair dealings in the UK copyright law. And Nas Daily tried to abuse the copyright system to pressure Steve into taking that down because, of course, he politically disagrees.
Yeah.
Nas Daily can suck a fat one. I thought I'd just end on trying to summarize this guy's life real quick. We all have this account.
Yeah, Cunley's a great guy. He gave me a shout out the other day, so just want to say thank you very much for that.
He's summed up the conversation from Nas Daily and the reason. Actually, I don't know if I've watched a lot of his content.
Yep.
He did a live stream once complaining that even though he has millions and millions of followers, his content is so NPC and crap, he doesn't have a community.
Oh really?
He does a meetup, nobody turns up.
I'm
Why
sorry,
would you?
your entire content looks as though it could be AI generated, so obviously it's not going to create a community of diehards.
Well, there we have the AI generated content. I'm brown, and they're brown, and we couldn't be happier that we're all browner. We're brown.
I'm
They're
Ukrainian, and then we move on.
There we are. That's things that are so tiresome. If you appreciated that episode from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the Epoch series, this episode on Black Wednesday. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.